Welcome, this is Priestess Works. I'm Mama Shoshana, and we're going to be having an interview with somebody who wanted to talk to me about what it's like to be a priestess in the Sanse Espiritismo tradition. And then I think she's going to ask me some personal questions about myself and the lineage. So I hope you guys enjoy this video today, and I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. When did you know that you wanted to be a spiritual worker?
Well, when did I want to know that I wanted to be a spiritual worker? Really was when I was very young. I was seeing spirits. I was seeing ghosts. I have a long family history, a history of people from inside of my family that have done spiritual work. My ancestors, I come from a gypsy lineage, so I was raised around dancing, magic, tarot card reading, things of this nature. A lot of it was geared towards the traditions of the East, because my family was responsible for bringing in the Dalai Lama into the United States at one point, for starting Pacifica radio station, for putting Woodstock together, for creating gatherings that were outside of the very strict conservative culture that was inside the United States when they were young. Both my mother and my father had spiritual gifts. Everybody in my family has spiritual gifts, but nobody in my family developed them to the extent that they needed to in order to make their life work completely. And part of the problem about being somebody who's born into a lineage of spiritual workers is that we go through so many karmic trials and tribulations and so many tests of darkness and light. There's many gifts, but there's many tests. And you really can't live a life that's calm and cohesive and functional without spiritual guidance, without constantly learning, constantly overcoming inner demons, constantly overcoming the urge to, use drugs and alcohol to cope with the gifts that you have, like this, okay? So when I was very young, my work started out in the dream realm, and many spirits and mysteries and spiritual guides would come to me in my dreams. So at around fourth grade, I don't know how old you are in fourth grade, like around 8 or something like this, I started to seek out my first teacher. Prior to that, I was always working with spirits on the other side, and learning to do energy medicine and healing was the first thing that I could get into that helped me along the way. From there, from dream work, I learned herbology. I worked with witches when I was a little girl. We call them curanderas in New Mexico, where I'm from. And I found witches, like traditional, old school Mexican, Hispanic witches that pray to Jesus and to Mary and work with the plants in the desert. I also worked with Native American shamans from a very young age, and went through my first initiation into healing work when I was in fourth grade. I've never stopped learning since, and eventually, after many issues with darker forces coming into my dreams and showing up in my life, like, bad spirits and stuff, I eventually left home at 15 and looked for shamans that I could work with, and found a Kabbalist that I trained under for many years in California. Continued herbal medicine and stuff like this, like things that I could get into, witchcraft, spirituality, shamanism, working with the oceans, working with the powers of nature. And it wasn't until many years later that I found the Sanse tradition. And through my own, I guess you could call it channeling, but like receiving information and trying to understand the spirit realm and how energy works and how spirits work and how the universe is constructed, I began to realize that there was nobody there who could teach me, that there was nobody there who understood the questions that I had. I trained as a medical intuitive. Like I said, I worked with a Kabbalist, I worked with many shamans, but their answers to the questions were limited, okay? And I realized that I needed to answer these questions myself, like there was nobody else I could receive guidance from. So I did. I started writing and channeling and receiving information while continuing to learn medicine and continuing to progress as a spiritual healer and a spiritual reader. But it wasn't until my own sources that be, meaning the spirits that I was speaking with and the mysteries that I was talking to, guided me to find my teacher, who was Papa Hungon Hector. And I had no idea what Sanse was, and I had no idea that what it was that I was doing was Sanse, or that it even existed. So when I found him, I asked him if he had something he could train me in. And he is a priest of 3 different lineages and 3 different traditions. And so he placed me in Sanse as the tradition for me, and I started working with him and have gotten all the questions answered.
What was it like as your gifts started to unfold in the Sanse tradition? What was that experience like of waking up in that tradition?
Like really fast. It was like you know, I had my gifts and I had my powers and all of that, and I was helping people, and I had a pretty big practice. I'm a dance instructor as well, and a lot of the way that I work with energies is through movement and through dance, and so I had a large dance practice and was feeling really empowered to help women through abuse, sexual abuse, people who came from families where there was a lot of drug and alcohol abuse, women who were molested, people who were raped. Really fast I started to see that my tools of dancing and understanding the female form and my healing work together. So to answer your question, what it was like when I went through my work with Papa is really fast. Everything that I was doing went from scale 1 to 10 to scale 1 to 1,000. And like, for example, after I was initiated with him, before the initiation, I would do a reading and I would have to sit down, clear my mind, stabilize my space, close my eyes for a minute and just relax and receive information. It would come visually. After my first initiation with him, the next day I had a series of phone call sessions, and I didn't have to sit down, I didn't have to clear my mind, I didn't have to do anything. Everything just started flooding through like this, like that. So fast and furious, I would say. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Do you feel like you found your home with Sanse?
Yeah. Sanse is my spiritual home. Yeah. I feel like I found my home.
What has it been like to find a lineage that comes out of Africa and the Caribbean, because you've come from a path that was primarily Eastern tradition? What was that like to find your home with these traditions?
Well, it was grounding. It was clarifying. Part of the thing is that anybody who's into Sanse or any of these sort of what we call ATR traditions is that they tend to be people of the world, right? Meaning nobody is a pure blood of anything anymore, right? And our tradition stems from Puerto Rico. And inside of Puerto Rico, there were, people that were hiding who were gypsies that came in that worked about as close to being a slave as you could possibly be. There were, people who came in underneath the slave trade, and there was all the history and everything that happened there in Haiti. So you have slaves, you have gypsies that are hiding underneath the guise of being Hispanic but really, or Spanish, but really they are being persecuted. And the reason why they came into Puerto Rico is because of the persecution and the fact that they could not get work and that their children and their families were being murdered. You have the Catholic influence. You have a Hindu influence. You have an influence basically from the French influence. You have within Puerto Rico these mergings of cultures that came from all over the world. So some people feel like these traditions should be specific to just one particular type of culture. Like people sometimes from Puerto Rico think, well, only Puerto Ricans should be as Sansistas. And some people who are Haitian feel like only Haitians should practice Haitian Vodou. Some people feel differently. What we say in Sanse is that the spirit does not determine your soul based on your color. And it's the same thing with sexism. We do not believe that male priests are better than female priests, like in every major tradition and religion in the world. You do not find female priests, and if you do, they are still underneath the male priests. So for us in Sanse, what we say is the spirit doesn't choose based on your skin color, based on your hair color, based on your financial status, or based on if you're a male or female, okay? So that's one of the most powerful things about the tradition, and also one of the biggest conflicts that there are, because truth be told, not many things belong to people who come from Haiti, right? And so, truth be told, they have a right to feel like that's theirs. They own it. It's their spirituality. And I do agree. It is their spirituality. And there are some priests, like Papa Hector, who believes that the spirit comes to who the spirit needs to come to. And it's not what you are that cultivates your spiritual path, but it's who you're becoming. It's where you're going. It's what you're doing. And then the only thing that I would add to that is that people tend to not be able to connect with spirits or their spiritual gifts if they haven't had a life of suffering. And so we do tend to draw people to us who have harder financial status, because the money gets in the way of your spiritual gifts. If you have everything handed to you in life, if you have everything provided to you in life, you don't need to rely on the spirits and your spiritual journey to get you what you need, all right? So that's one thing I really appreciate about the work is that those of us who are like the underdog have a home and a place that we can become great people inside of.
What would be your welcoming call to people who are searching for Sanse or something like it?
I think it's exactly the same as it was for me. You've already been there. You've already done a lot. You've already accomplished a serious amount in your life. You are a soul who has cultivated great things already in your life, but there's a limitation that you're reaching because nobody can give you those deeper answers to the things that you know are real, that you know are true. What are the spiritual lessons that need to be honored? How do you feed and build and nourish a connection with your misterios? How do you know the true ancient teachings that are links in a chain line that go from ancient Africa all the way through to this modern day with no break in the link? Christianity, there's breaks in the link. Goddess worship, nobody knows, there's breaks in the link. Hinduism, there's breaks in the link. You go to any tradition around the world and you get only a little bit of what the truth of that worship was, how the spirit really comes to you. How do you really make contact with the divine and use it in a way where it's not like an atom bomb in your fingertips that you're going to mess stuff up with, but that you got that power in your fingertips and you have the right frame of mind and personal stability to be able to use it to help other people. Many, many people out there that come to our work are very, very successful people. because they've already gotten a lot accomplished. And then there's like the dark night of the soul. They're waiting for what's next, and they haven't found the right person to guide them there. And that's where we come in.
What's a story or a miracle that you've seen transpire as a priestess of Sanse?
Okay.
As a Mambo? Do you have any stories?
Well, like one time we had somebody who came in just right off the bat, like who was a dance student of mine, and she had 5 fibroids in her uterus, and they were scheduled to give her surgery in 2 weeks. And she didn't know I was a priestess. She didn't know anything about Vodou or Sanse or anything like this. But I had seen it in dance class. I had seen that she was psychically, I had seen that she needed help. So she got a reading with me, and I saw the 5 fibroids. She confirmed, yes, I'm going to get my uterus taken out. And this girl is probably like 23, so her whole life would have been, her hormones would have been changed forever. She would have been on hormonal therapy forever. She would never have been able to have children like this. And we did 2 healing sessions with her, and the fibroids completely disappeared. And they never came back. And it was a simple matter of just basically what she had is what we call an entity, which is a living spirit that is embedded into the flesh that we needed to go in and remove. And that's the thing about Vodou is that we know how to work with energies, entities, spirits, mysteries, the Holy Spirit, hope, offering people faith, giving people a chance to be charitable and to receive charity. There is an entire work of art. As a priest, we're trained in an entire system of how to help people in every walk of life. Another miracle I can think of right away is we had somebody who had a very bad vaginal wart disease, and it was cancerous, and we did a ceremony that we do with a spirit named La Sirène, and we did a rubbing of the fish, where we take a fish and we have a secret recipe that we use the fish and set the energy free back into the ocean, and the woman tested later negative, and that was that. It was done. I've also seen people who were never going to have children have children. I've seen people that were nearly dying be given a second chance at life, and then do the work to correct their path. I've seen a lot of miracles, and I intend to see a lot more.
When you talk about the lineage of Sanse being unbroken in history,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that the work that the Mambos and the Hungons are doing, and then all of your initiates are doing, is changing history in the present?
Do I think that we're changing history in the present for Sanse? I think probably maybe yes, because we're bringing it out of the Caribbean and into the United States and then into the world.
Do you think you're changing the political climate and things that are happening at this time and place?
Do I think that we're changing the political climate? No. But I think we're making small strides. And, our job is to help people find their path and to find their way. And in time, if enough people find their path and they find their way, then it will change things. But I think there's a lot more work to be done. And I think that, people need to become more serious about their work, because not only does it help the individual when you're serious about your work, but when you're on your path and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then, maybe there's the next female president. Maybe there's the next, person down in Puerto Rico or DR that, ends poverty. Maybe there's the person in India that supports the women that are being gang raped. Maybe when you're on your path, things just naturally get better. I think this world is very much out of balance. And our job as priests is to bring balance. Our job is to bring balance. Now, because we are an African tradition, a tradition that incorporates African teachings. I think that we don't get given enough opportunities to make a difference for people because of the racism that still prevails everywhere in the world. And people think that what we do is somehow evil or dark. And there's a fear factor associated with it. So will that change in my lifetime? I have no idea. But I do know the power of the work, and I know what it is to be on the inner circle of being a high priest and the trials and tribulations that it takes to become someone who can really help heal someone from spirits and demons and things of this nature is an incredibly difficult commitment. What it took for me to get here is not easy. It's not easy for any Mambo. It's not easy for any Hungan out there. It's a very, 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 we have many, many tests. So if there is a group of people in the world that could possibly make a difference and shake this world up a little bit, it certainly is us.
What keeps you going as a priestess?
Helping people. Seeing the miracles. Seeing people get better. Seeing my temple progress. Seeing people be happy. Finding love. Healthy. Finding God. Finding the Spirit. Developing their gifts. Seeing people be happy. Having joy. The temple that I'm affiliated, the Watch Us Rise Temple, seeing that grow, seeing it spread its wings all over the world. Just like the name says, watch us rise. We're going to rise above everything, and in our lifetime make a difference for people. And it'll be all over the world in different ways, and in little ways, how people cook for themselves, to how people are politically. Big ways and little ways, they're all important. When my daughter was born, the spirits gave me the name Amalia for her, and I didn't know what it meant, but because she was a miracle as well, because I wasn't able to have, I couldn't get pregnant for whatever reason. The spirits came to me one day and they were like, "We're going to give you a child," and then they were like, "Here's her name," and I looked up the name, and the root word is Amal, which means the great work of God. So seeing living miracles, providing good homes for children, helping people be fed in DR and Haiti. We do a lot of, work, charity work, and a lot more to come.
Thank you. This has been really special, and we're just grateful we have the opportunity to learn from people who are carrying this tradition on.
Yes, I feel the same way. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We're going to have more coming out, most likely every other week or every week. I'm signing out. This is Mama Shoshana, and I hope you have a blessed, blessed day.